Hey everyone, welcome back to yet another episode on the AI Radio Show with me, your host Arthi. Keep it self-made, Anyways, welcome back. This is season 4 and first episode of this season. I hope you are all enjoying this AI radio show where we talk about everything AI, but not in that complicated, not understandable, but also worrying tone. I just forgot that I forgot to plug in my microphone. I am becoming more and more forgetful these days. Let me do that. I guess it happens when, you're constantly learning about some stuff. At least that's what I say to kind of, not make me, kind of console myself. So, yeah. Awesome. So I guess now my voice would be crystal clear for all of you. Anyways, welcome back to the AI Radio Show. This is me, Arthi. For those who do not know, I've worked in different organizations in various different roles. I've switched careers too often that you can name me the career switching queen if you want. So learning all of those things in all of those roles kind of told me that I am more equipped on running my own show, just building something on my own and running my own company. So that's what I'm doing. I quit my high paying corporate job to become a solopreneur, and I've built a couple of products and I've taught AI to a lot of people, and this is what I love doing. And thanks for supporting me in my journey, and I hope you enjoy for the rest of the AI radio show and the other AI lives that I do. I have a couple of announcements. I'll cover it during the AI radio show, but then, yes, thanks for joining me once again. I've been kind of preoccupied. I've not been live for the past 2 weeks. If you hadn't noticed, that's because a lot of things happened. All right, I did inform you that I'd be gone for a week, where I had to attend the Fuse conference that was happening at Hyderabad. It was the same time where the AI summit happened in New Delhi as well. But I couldn't attend anything because guess what? I felt sick. Who knew that the fat layer covering your organs could get inflamed? Did you know? I didn't. And there is something called as omentum. I don't know. Term kind of sounds familiar. I guess I did read about it in 12th grade biology, but then that particular, I don't know what to call it, that particular part of my body got inflamed. And at first I thought it was appendicitis. But then fortunately I didn't need any surgery, just a couple of painkillers and a lot of rest. Right. So that is why I couldn't get on this AI radio show. And even though I did recover, after week 1, I did want to kind of rest, rejuvenate, and then come back stronger so that, you know, we can learn about AI all we want with all the fun. And in the past 2 weeks, there have been so many things that has happened. If you have not been living under a rock, you have been overwhelmed too. So many news, so many conflicts, so many funding rounds, new tools. This is what happens with AI, right? The one day you try to take off, there are like a lot of different things happen, and the next day when you turn on all of these news platforms where you consume all the news, you get overwhelmed with so many things. I did miss out a couple of once I did not get to like report to you live about all of those things, but hey, it's okay. You would have seen some of them on your Instagram feed, or somewhere wherever you get your content from. But anyways, I just wanted to recap all of them and also touch upon a couple of recent news. for this in this specific episode. So today we are not going to be looking at any tools, fancy tools, building stuff. Okay, we are going to be looking at all the different things that are happening across the globe in terms of AI, and kind of link it, put it all together, and form perspectives. Okay, like always, drop any of your questions you have in my comment box wherever you're watching this from. And we are currently live on Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. Okay, I switched streaming platforms. Probably the video that you're looking at could be of improved quality, and this is the first time I'm going live in this specific platform. So if I glitch anywhere, apologies in advance. I'm still learning. And speaking of announcements, the banner that you see, like, either down or up, wherever you see the banner, that's nothing but about a workshop that I'm going to be hosting on March 22nd. So it is not your typical workshop, all right? I'm not going to be teaching you to build AI stuff, although I do that from time to time. But this specific workshop is essentially, to help you become irreplaceable at your current job. I know there are a lot of layoffs, there are a lot of, no job opportunities, you don't get hired, and so on. But with the help of AI, you can become this unfireable, irreplaceable person that you are. Okay, so this workshop will teach you exactly that, and it is part of a huge cohort where I'll be, training you, giving you hands-on lessons as to how you can identify stuff from your specific, role that you're in. You can be a marketer or a software developer, a nurse or a doctor or healthcare analyst or somebody working in finance, whatever your role might be. There would be a couple of tasks that you do on a very repeated basis every day. Let's say you maintain a server, you would go and kind of like look at if all the servers are up, if all the services are in that specific server is up, and so on. So this specific task that you do every day, if you follow the same steps, then yes, that can be automated. So I would help you in this specific workshop to identify such tasks and let you know which can be automated and which cannot. Okay, so you see the QR code on the screen. If you can scan it, if you're watching on your laptop or TV. But then there is also, if you check the pinned comments on all of these platforms, I've put a link out there. It's a free workshop. It's a 1 hour workshop on March 22nd. It's a Sunday, I guess. If I'm not wrong, yeah, it is a Sunday. So Sunday at 11 a.m. Tune in with your pen and paper and your favorite AI tool. I would help you in identifying that one task which you can automate, and thereby I'll also share you resources and give you access to a closed community which actively speaks about how to implement AI in your regular work. So that's one of the announcements that I wanted to make in this AI radio show, because that's coming up. And I guess let's move on to the episode. Oh, speaking of the global events that's happening across, like, everywhere, I I want to mention a couple of words about what's happening in countries like US, Israel, and Iran. All right. So there are a lot of people who are under distress, who are undergoing attack, which shouldn't happen to anybody, but let's face it, it is happening. So if anybody from those regions, I'm not sure, my heart goes out to you. I hope you are safe, and I really hope that everything settles down and things kind of wait off and stop for a moment. So let me know if I can help you in any ways. I don't know what I can do. I don't know, I'm not a powerful person, but anything I can do to help you, I am up for it. My DMs are open. You can reach out to me anytime you want. All right. With that being said, let's get on to the actual session, shall we? Okay, as we saw, in the past 14 days, so many things happened, right? So there's this huge infrastructure updates across different players, and then there is a huge investment that's happening, And also there is like a friction that's happening between Anthropic and the US government. So let's deep dive into all of them and then kind of understand why all of these things are happening and what can we do to understand them and gather perspectives. All right. So yep, we have the fight over the capital and the compute, and we have a new frontier of intelligence and agents released by so many big players like Google, and all. And then we'll speak about the friction that's happening between the two bodies that we just spoke about, and what does that say about AI security and AI governance. And also, let's talk about how AI is being currently integrated into the real world sense, like it's getting physical. We're seeing more and more robots, right? Let's talk about that. All right. Now, there is this $110 billion private funding round for OpenAI that happened very recently. Now, this amount in itself looks huge, right? I mean, OpenAI has received this 110 billion, all right, with B. And this is not, your regular seed funding round. It is just like, this is one of the historic private funding round, which is a big deal for any company to raise this much, um, you know, amount in value. And then this also kind of like it's projected to reach around 700 billion combined AI spending. Okay, so in 2026 alone. And Amazon commits $50 billion to OpenAI and $200 billion to its 2026 capex. And other companies like Alphabet, Meta, Microsoft, they are also on track for their $650 billion collective investment for 2026. Remember the dinner which the US President Trump kind of hosted, inviting all of these big players. So this was the number that was promised and in that specific dinner at the end of last year. And this is what they've been up to so far. And OpenAI let out a statement that leadership will be defined by who can scale infrastructure fast enough to meet demand. Because let's face it, every one of us, even including our parents and even some grandparents, use AI. They at least use ChatGPT or they use Gemini in some form or sort. Because let's face it, I was ordering something on Zepto last night and then I found a Gemini ad over there. So it's everywhere. People are using it, and when there are more people using it, you cannot like support them on a very basic infrastructure, right? You need to scale up your infrastructure as well. You need huge data centers. You need huge GPUs to kind of accommodate all of these things. And all of these apps, they contain free tiers. So these are not paying users, but then they use it on a regular basis, even though there are certain limitations set up in these free tires. Then let's face it, not we still need a lot of compute. Now the hardware arms race definitely kind of lets you know who runs the monopoly. Right now there are a couple of dominant players out there like Nvidia, which is the single most player out there, which supplies the semiconductor chips that's needed for all of these GPUs. So that's right there. It's making so much of profit that it's like releasing new features and releasing new models and different aspects for that's relevant to AI. So yeah, Nvidia's dominance is there, and in Nvidia, the according to the search pricing, which was shipped from China to the US, but the US is not yet touched all of those things shipped on a search price. So that's there. And now we're not measuring the performance of these compute in terms of we're measuring it in terms of power. So 6 gigawatts is what we're measuring of the how much the GPU is being consumed, and Google is being planning a lot of things. So OpenAI is like looking at they have a project called Star Cloud, where you send out your data centers to kind of the outer space. But here is the question that today morning I had this question. So these kind of data centers and GPUs are very difficult to, you know, you need a lot of cooling systems. So that's why they are like identifying all of these different places to put these data centers in. But a question popped up: why can't they kind of like use the cooling system in the North and South Pole? Why are they looking for underwater data centers or outer space data centers? Wouldn't Antarctica or the Arctic Circle work for this? I have not thought much into it. It was just a thought that came to me in my morning walk today. So if any of you know, please comment. Mention it in the comment, and I'd be happy to know. Otherwise, I'll find out and I will let you guys know. All right. Moving on to the next news out there. So we are seeing from chatbots to autonomous swarms because Perplexity released something called Perplexity Computer. It's your basically your computer use agent, which Anthropic earlier released, and which OpenAI, ChatGPT, Atlas is there, Comment is there. It's something similar to that. It comes with a $200 per month cloud-based subscription. But then, yeah, people who tried and tested it out. They claim it to be like very efficient and then highly performing. So that is also there. And OpenAI, sorry, CEO of Perplexity, he mentioned that it finally feels like I have a swarm of agents working for me. So I did see a video of someone testing this out and then claiming it to be pretty efficient and fast, I guess. And Google's Gemini 3.1, not one, I guess 3.2 was released. Let me check that for you. But then that kind of doubles the reasoning benchmarks that was already out there, which is a good thing because even amidst all of these infrastructure wars out there, we have the science is not lagging behind. We have new models, new open source models, and so on. And on another news, we have OpenAI that has acquired OpenClaw's founder. So if you do not know, OpenClaw was this open source AI agent, you can call it. It was like a completely autonomous AI agent, which was easy to implement, and it did everything for you in your computer, kind of like Claude co-work, if you will. I mean, better than that, I guess. But OpenClaw's founder, Peter Steinberger, was hired by OpenAI, and thereby OpenClaw became a proprietary software for OpenAI. And it is still open source, but it's under OpenAI. And then Peter Steinberger is like equipped with taking care of personalized AI agent systems implementation at OpenAI. So we are yet to see what Peter would kind of bring in. Moving on, let's look at the geopolitical collision that's happening. So this is the news everywhere I turn. Basically, I'll put it in a very simple terms. All right. Basically, the U.S. government, the Pentagon, they want complete access, like without any guardrails, without any restrictions to access Claude. Okay, let's face it, Claude is the most powerful model out there at the moment, and the government of the US government, they kind of recognize this, and they want unrestricted access to it, okay, for domestic surveillance and all lawful purposes is what they mentioned. And fortunately for us, Anthropic CEO is like totally against it. He was like, no bro, this is not happening. uh, they even like updated Claude's safety principles, where he mentioned that this specific model will not be used for domestic surveillance, and also not for any other unlawful scenarios, and also it will stop training when it finds out some of the something that happens that's like against their policies. Okay, so all of these safety rules put in place, and Anthropic CEO was like, definitely not. If you want to survey on the population of the US, use any other model out there. I'm not giving Claude for you. So this is what Anthropic CEO kind of like pushed back. And because of this, there was a lot of backlash on Anthropic. So apparently, President Trump he announced, he labeled, I don't know what is the term to use over here, but then he mentioned all the federal agencies across the US to stop using Anthropic, kind of like ban it from everywhere. And also, he kind of claimed it to be a huge supply chain risk. Okay, this is a huge thing because the last time the US kind of labeled something as a huge supply chain risk was a Chinese model or a Chinese tool, I guess. But this Anthropic that you're speaking about, it was developed in the US and it is headquartered in the US, San Francisco, but it is named as supply chain risk. And coincidentally, or I don't know how, but Claude is down now. I don't know if you have noticed. Claude has been down since like I don't know 2 to 3 hours now. They're mentioning that they're fixing it, finding out what the issue is, but poor Anthropic for just for having a moral compass and you know kind of standing up for what they believe in, they're facing so much of backlash. On the other hand, you know what OpenAI CEO Sam Altman did? Uh, he signed, what do you call it? All right. Anyway, he put a deal with the Department of War of the US and gave the US government whatever it wanted, access to the OpenAI models. So this created a lot of ripple effect across the internet, and so many users have like uh, canceled their ChatGPT subscription and switched to Claude. So right now, Claude is like the number one downloaded application on the App Store. For a very long time, it was ChatGPT, but now it is Claude. So this is happening. All right. Um, yep, that's about Anthropic and Pentagon's collusion and how OpenAI kind of succumbed to the US government's requirements. So what happens here? What would you do? Would you switch? Would you like end your ChatGPT subscription? What happens to all the memory that was happening with ChatGPT all these years? Aren't you a bit sentimental with ChatGPT because this has been with us for like this is the very first model which was like put into our hands, at the hands of lay people who didn't even know what AI was and what all it could do. So, would you switch to Claude and ditch ChatGPT, or what would you do? Let me know. All right. But this is what is happening between Anthropic, OpenAI, and the US government. Too much drama. Now, US and China, that's a never ending, you know, war. How would you call it? So, so recently, as you know, Anthropic claimed that um, Chinese models like DeepSeek from the Moonshot AI company, and then Kimi and a couple of other Chinese models have kind of copied or kind of attacked Anthropic's Claude and use it to kind of train their own models, which which is ironic because OpenAI put up a same claim a couple of years ago on Anthropic's Claude. So is that what it is? Or are LLM developers doing the same thing? So a couple of one person develops it and then control C control V on, and then that's what a new large language model is. I don't know. Now open source Chinese models like Quen from Alibaba, they are like overtaking Western proprietary systems. So there are more downloads for these Chinese models compared to the alternative like OpenAI, Claude, and so on. And then the US officials, they allege like DeepSeek trained its V4 model on banned Nvidia Blackwell chips at a data center in Inner Mongolia. This is what we spoke about. For that, in retaliation, DeepSeek blocks Nvidia and AMD from early V4 access, exclusively granting advanced access to Huawei and Chinese chip suppliers. So this is, if you think about it, we've heard about BioWar and all, but then this in itself is a very small that's going between US and China. And Chinese AI stocks, they have surged massively because the investors rotate into pure AI plays. Despite Hawaii's Ascend 950, it performs at just 6% of Nvidia's VR200. Even though the performance efficiency is low, investors are like flooding to China and then investing in Chinese AI stocks. So that's all that's happening between US and China. And also the AI Impact Summit that happened in New Delhi. Let's talk about that because let's face it, there was a lot of different videos that was going on about how a specific university kind of brought in a robot that was manufactured by a Chinese company and claimed it that it was manufactured by them. That became viral. Um, I mean, why? I understand, being ahead of the race and positioning yourself as a leader, but faking something that's highly frowned upon. Um, Anyways, in that Impact Summit, so many things happened. So many deals were signed. New data center is coming in Gujarat, and then also Anthropic and Ambani became partners. So Ambani is kind of going to be the distributor for Anthropic in India. That is okay, but then we should also talk about the data centers that's being planned for India. Okay, because that brings me back to my initial point where data centers require a lot of water for cooling because it's simple. You use your laptop or your mobile phone for a very long time, it gets heated up, right? So imagine that, but 1,000 times. All right. So these GPUs systems, these data centers need a lot of water to kind of cool them. So who contains a lot of water than a subcontinent that is surrounded by water, right? So yeah, that is why so many big players are flooding to India to open their data centers. And this is good and bad, because uh, you know because of that there are a lot of new employment opportunities. That's a plus. But then also what happens to the environment, like the amount of heat that's generated, and also when you use water for these cooling systems, there is this dirty water that is coming out as well. And where will that be released into? We know that India is already very poor in water treatment. Now, will it have the energy and resources to treat this water, or like kind of dispose it in a proper secured way? We'll never know. So that is there. And then there is this huge thing that's going on in Europe that because of a lot of AI Act that has put forth a lot of regulations into what kind of AI models and AI tools can be shipped. There are a lot of builders out there who has like put in months of their effort unable to ship because of these different AI Act. Now, what do you think about this specific AI Act in Europe? Do you think that's need of the hour to protect the privacy and also maintain governance, or do you think it's too much? Because let's face it, everybody wants to build something with AI and ship it and make money. So the um, is the kind of Europe government kind of failing to abide by it? I'll leave it to you to kind of answer that. And then 16 countries in Latin America, they launched LATAM GPT. It's a sovereign LLM trained in Spanish and Portuguese for just $550,000. So there is this OpenAI which has raised 110 billion US dollars. But here there is another model called LATAM GPT, which has just trained a model in Spanish with $550,000. So balance, I guess. Now, there is this president of Chile, who Gabriel Boric, he mentioned that we are at the table, we are not on the menu. I don't know what that means, but yeah, good for you, President of Chile. Now, AI-driven corporate restructuring begins. Okay, so as you can see, just in the past few months, like 2026, it's just March. It's not even few months, just 2 months, but 4,000 plus jobs. And if you take into account, like in 2025 alone, 1.2 million jobs were cut off, and some of them blamed it on AI, and some of them kind of blamed it on like overhiring during the pandemic. But there is always this kind of an insecurity with when it comes to people who work in these big companies, right? They get used to some stuff. They initially, I don't know, even without you doing anything, you might be laid off. So this is why I always believe that you kind of need to build something on your own, not depend on anybody else for your livelihood, become financially independent. I know it's easy to say than done. A lot of you would have a lot of commitments, a lot of I don't know. I do not know what you're going through, but build something on the side, all right, whenever you have time in the evenings or in the mornings or in the weekends, when you're kind of like looking at your phone or watching Netflix or something. Build a small business. It could be anything. It could be based on your passion project. Okay, but then make something and then try to monetize it. Create your second source of income, so that God forbid any kind of a unfortunate thing happen like layoff, you get to have the second source of income, and you would become this confident person than you are today. So do that, all right, because 4,000 jobs have been cut by Block, a company called Block, and a CEO, Jack Dorsey, he explicitly attributes these cuts to AI intelligence tools and their internal system, something called Goose. And Block's stock after this layoff surges 24%. Okay, and it has established the largest explicit AI driven workforce reduction in like S&P's 500 S&P 500's history. Okay, 4,000 jobs were lost due to AI. Now this is where again I'll reiterate the workshop that I was talking about. So scan the QR code or click on the link in the comments of wherever you're watching this from. Oh, I just realized that I haven't pinned it on Instagram. Let me do that now. Getting the link for this specific workshop. So, for those of you who've joined very recently, this is a free workshop that I'm running where I'll teach you to become irreplaceable in AI. In the AI era, and then you can be confident that um, nobody can kind of like replace you. Okay, you cannot be replaced. You literally would be unfireable. Okay, that's what I'm going to be teaching you in this workshop. It's a 1 hour online free workshop on a Sunday morning 11 a.m. And yeah, basically just join, and I'll teach you what existing job functions you can automate, so that this is what companies are looking for: how to reduce manpower, how to reduce the number of working hours, and gain efficiency in the less hour with minimum people. Okay, how can you become the minimum people and not get laid off? So this is what we are going to be looking at the workshop. And I also have a cohort based training. It's a 1 month training where we meet like a couple of hours a week, and then I give you different tasks and assignments and exercises where you identify these roles that you can kind of automate, the tasks in your existing role that you can automate, and also like how to automate them and how to validate them. So this is a whole cohort. It's again available on my website. You can scan the QR code or click on the link that it's like available in the comments. Now, moving on, as we saw that AI is being integrated into the physical world. So the autonomous transit, like the autonomous vehicles like Tesla and so on, Waymo kind of it's a you know supplier of these autonomous vehicles. So they have executed the largest single day robotaxi expansion in the US history, launching in 10 cities and completing over 400,000 paid trips per week. Okay, this is autonomous travel that we're talking about. And when it comes to material science, the University of New Hampshire's AI database uncovers 25 new high temperature magnetic materials, directly threatening to reduce global reliance on rare elements guess where? From China. So this is an AI which kind of analyze, what are the alternatives for the existing magnetic materials that are needed for these GPU chips out there, and it has found out 25 new high temperature, that is temperature resistant magnetic materials. So the reliance on China is again in question here. So if this is something that's usable and if this works, then the power that China holds can kind of like be, curbed. And we all know what AlphaFold is. It's basically it kind of like helps you in predicting the protein structure, thereby helping you in drug discovery. So Isomorphic Labs, this specific company, they released something called ISO-DDE. So it's basically your AlphaFold 4, but then it's a proprietary drug discovery engine significantly, and it outperforms AlphaFold 3. Okay, so academicians are pretty pissed off because this is something which is required by all of these research people in the academia who use it on a day-to-day basis, and now it comes at a cost. Even though it outperforms AlphaFold 3, um, they might not be able to access it without proper funding. So the academicians are pretty pissed about it. So yeah, the new rules of this AI era. All right, scale, that is your ultimate mode. So OpenAI's 110 billion raise, and hyperscale is 700 billion capex. It confirms that sovereign level capital is now the baseline price for entry. Okay, if you can scale up, you're the key player. If not, then I guess you would be replaced too. And then Meta's $60 billion AMD deal and Google TPU rentals prove that the compute monopoly exists, and it is very, very critical if you want to run your company that's practically hosting large language models for global usage. And geopolitical neutrality, the Anthropic and Pentagon crisis, and DeepSeek's hardware embargo, like blocking it off to Nvidia, these are all kind of linked to national security and also how it plays out in terms of human alignment. And the open source floor is also rising. Chinese models achieves performance parity at a fraction of the cost compared to their competitors like OpenAI, Claude, and Gemini. So would you switch to those models like Qwen or Kimi or DeepSeek, or use models that are based out in the US like ChatGPT, like Claude and Gemini? Let me know in the comments as well. I'd love to know. With that, we are almost at the end of the different news segments for today, and yeah, that's what has happened in the past 14 days that I was away. And this kind of shapes like where AI is headed for the next decade. If you think about it, a lot of new players, a lot of new conflicts, a lot of different decisions that were made and at different summits across the globe. So yeah, if you've been with me so far, I'll again repeat the announcement about the workshop that I'm hosting. It's called the Become Irreplaceable in the AI Era, where I would teach you within an hour to kind of like identify a single task that you can automate in your current role, so that you do not switch careers to enter AI. You can bring in AI to your existing role and kind of get it automated. You can scan the QR code or click on the link that's pinned on all of these platforms. So yep, I hope this was useful, and also like I'll be very regular in with respect to these AI radio shows from now on. I took a break for 2 weeks with the AI radio show, but yeah, we are back. And on another announcement, this Women's Day, like in the coming week, on the weekend. In order to commemorate that, I'm kicking off a new podcast. Okay, so this is not something that I kind of like talk hours together about it, but then this podcast is with, it's called the AI Sisterhood podcast, where I would bring in guests from across the globe, especially women guests who are pioneering or creating a major impact in the field of AI. I have already signed up a couple of powerful, amazing women, and I cannot wait to bring their stories to you. So stay tuned for that. The first episode kicks off on March 7th, and thereby every Saturday you can find AI radio show either live or a pre-recorded podcast that's broadcasted live. Either way, we are in for a fun ride, and I hope you all are having fun, learning something new, and register for my workshop if you have not already done. It's free and it's online, and become irreplaceable in your current role. Okay, with that, I think we can end today's radio show. I will see you tomorrow with more such interesting news, and also a couple of new tools that I'll teach you. Something that we can vibe code live or build a tool out of whatever mode you want to. And if you are someone who wants to take part in my the AI Sisterhood podcast, DM me. I'll kind of like reach out to you and set this thing up. Okay, cool then. I'll see you next time.